I discovered that my wife was cheating on me with her boss and, together with his wife, created a plan that led to an unforgettable police confrontation. I am 43 years old and my wife is 40. We've been married for 16 years and have 2 children, a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. Our marriage wasn't easy in the beginning, but we overcame the difficulties and came out stronger. Or so I thought. We married young and lacked maturity, but I believed our love was enough to overcome anything. Now, I'm not sure if that belief was just wishful thinking. My wife has been working as a manager at a large advertising agency for 3 years, while I've been an engineer for 7. Both of our jobs pay well, allowing us to provide a comfortable life for our family. We are a close family and always prioritize time with our children, creating cherished memories together. I have always tried to be a good father and husband, but I was shocked to learn about my wife's long-term affair. While I've made mistakes, I never imagined something like this would happen. The discovery. Over the last 2 years, my wife began acting distant. She often compared me to her boss, saying he handled things better than I did. Unlike her boss, I didn't plan romantic dates or make her feel special, which she seemed to want. When I asked her how I could improve, her answers were vague, and she expected me to figure it out myself. I tried reading books and researching ways to strengthen our marriage, but my efforts didn't seem to satisfy her. What I didn't realize was that I wasn't the one fixing things, her boss was. We were close with her boss and his family, often spending time together at barbecues, family outings, and other activities. I even confided in her boss about our marriage problems, thinking he was a trustworthy person. Looking back, I can't believe how naive I was. One night, I noticed her laughing while texting someone. When I tried to see who it was, she quickly pulled her phone away and became defensive. Suspecting an affair, I confronted her the next day, but she strongly denied it. Later, I managed to access her phone and found deleted messages. Although the conversations were fragmented, they confirmed her affair with her boss. Gathering evidence. Instead of confronting her immediately, I waited. I was devastated but didn't want to act impulsively because of the kids. 3 days later, I purchased a book, How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair, hoping to save our relationship. On Saturday, I planned to talk to her, but she said she had a work emergency. My suspicions grew when she returned late Sunday and avoided answering my questions. She seemed completely indifferent to my feelings, which hurt even more. Desperate for answers, I reached out to her boss's wife. She was as shocked as I was, and we decided to gather evidence. I continued monitoring my wife while she did the same with her husband. Her husband's arrogance worked to our advantage. He hadn't even deleted incriminating texts. Combining her findings with mine, we confirmed that the affair had been going on for 2 years. They had slept together in multiple locations and exchanged explicit photos. To spare ourselves additional pain, we avoided looking at the pictures. The confrontation. While revenge crossed our minds, we chose not to sink to their level by having affairs of our own. Instead, we both filed for divorce at the same time. Our spouses were unaware of our collaboration. Once we had everything in place, they resumed their affair, giving us the opportunity to confront them. We discovered they had booked a hotel for a weekend getaway and decided to act. I arrived at the hotel with the sheriff, waiting in the lobby. My wife, wearing a bathrobe, was called down. The sheriff confirmed her identity and served her divorce papers. Confused, she signed them and demanded an explanation. I told her about the affair and my decision to leave. She grabbed my arm, yelling and crying, but the sheriff intervened and told her to let go. I walked away, leaving her in tears. Shortly after, her boss was served at his home. Neither of them had time to prepare or recover, exactly how they had blindsided us. Moving forward, my divorce will be finalized in a few months, though hers might take longer. Both my wife and her boss are resisting the divorces, claiming they never intended to leave their families. They insist the affair was clean and purely physical, nothing more. My wife argues that people have done worse and still saved their marriages. She's going to therapy, reading the book I bought, and says she'll do anything to fix things, but I told her she's only sorry because she got caught. She once called me bitter and resentful, though she apologized later. I know that's how she truly feels. She despises that I still talk to her boss's wife, fearing I'll have a revenge affair or that the friendship is the reason I won't reconcile. She's begged me to cut contact with her boss's wife, just as she stopped seeing him. I refused, telling her I don't value her opinions anymore. She keeps trying to discuss her affair with me, but I see it as excuses and refuse to engage. She's asked me to go to therapy or read infidelity books together, but I declined, saying it's pointless if we're divorcing. She insists she's not trying to manipulate me, only to show her love. I corrected her, saying she only loves me now. Reflecting on the future. Even my mom is frustrated, saying everyone makes mistakes, and my wife's remorse proves she loves me. I told her I refuse to be anyone's fallback plan. While I feel guilty for treating my wife coldly, I still love her, but the hate lingers. Am I being too harsh? Should I reconsider the divorce? Some say I'm acting too quickly and might regret it. Update. Thank you for your concern. My wife and I are in a relatively good place, but reconciliation is not happening. I'm proceeding with the divorce because my wife's affair lasted far too long for me to forgive. If it had been a one-night stand, it might have been different. But 2 years? That feels like a slap in the face. Despite this, I've attended several therapy sessions with her, not because I secretly want to save the marriage, but because I still love her and wanted to understand her remorse. One session was particularly insightful and helped me see her genuine regret. She hasn't handled everything perfectly, but she's been trying hard. However, the second session turned into a disaster. She became upset with me for staying in touch with her boss's wife, fearing I'd have a revenge affair. That session left me angrier than I'd been throughout this entire ordeal. We argued a lot afterward because I refused to cut contact with the boss's wife. Eventually, I promised her there would be no revenge affair, even though I knew I owed her nothing. She's still my wife until the divorce is finalized, and I want to uphold my commitments. I continued attending therapy sessions to observe her progress. This therapist handles both individual and marriage counseling. Again, I'm not there to save the marriage. I simply want to track her efforts and step away gracefully after the divorce is complete. Meanwhile, the boss's wife is also divorcing her husband, though he's fighting it. She's as determined as I am to move on, and I'll admit we support each other during difficult moments. That said, we're just friends. She's a strong, independent woman who doesn't tolerate nonsense, and I respect that. Impact on family. Our kids are doing well overall. They understand in an age-appropriate way that the divorce doesn't mean we love them any less. While they don't want us to separate, they understand why it's necessary. My wife resigned from her job at the advertising company after being served and claims she has no contact with her former boss. She's even sought advice on forums to try to save our marriage. Initially, I didn't understand why people stayed with adulterers, but watching my wife's efforts to become a better person has given me some insight. She's not evil, just flawed and guilty of making terrible choices. Challenges in venting. My mom and I reconciled after I shared more details about the affair, but now she's furious with my wife. Managing her anger has been challenging. Regarding a revenge affair, I didn't want to write about this until my divorce was finalized, but today I feel overwhelmed and need to vent. My wife is terrified of the idea of me having a revenge affair, mainly because I'm still in contact with the other betrayed spouse. She's insecure compared to the other betrayed spouse, who is younger, attractive, and owns a successful business. My wife worries I'll succumb to temptation and betray her as payback. Her hypocrisy infuriates me, especially when she lectures me about how 2 wrongs don't make a right. She's not wrong, of course, but her audacity leaves me speechless. Every time I visit the other betrayed spouse, with my kids, I might add, my wife becomes clingy or distraught. She's thrown herself at me countless times, desperate to prevent me from cheating on her in retaliation. Observations and current status. It's unbelievable how selfish cheaters can be. They focus solely on their pain, leaving the betrayed to pick up the pieces. Our kids still spend time with the other betrayed spouse's kids, and I never visit her without them. Yet my wife refuses to believe I'm not as heartless as she was. Meanwhile, the boss continues to live at their vacation home, begging his wife to take him back. I won't lie, seeing him face the consequences of his actions brings me a sense of satisfaction. He avoids me entirely, ensuring I'm not around when he visits his children. Honestly, I pity him. My wife has been extremely apologetic recently, showering me with affection. However, I've been ignoring her because I'm not in a good place. We have a therapy session scheduled today, and I plan to express the full extent of the pain and anger I've been carrying. The rage inside me is becoming unbearable. Update from therapy. During our latest therapy session, my wife asked for more time to prove herself and win me back. She listed reasons why I should give her another chance to repair our marriage, not necessarily reconcile, but work on rebuilding. I reminded her that her efforts only began after the fallout from her affair. If she were still with the other man, she wouldn't be trying at all. I brought up how she emotionally mistreated me for months, and I refused to let her walk all over me again, even if I once loved her. She acknowledged her mistakes, apologized again, and made numerous promises to make amends. She insisted our marriage could become stronger than ever if we worked together and said she was willing to face my rage. I asked if she was prepared to deal with the depth of my anger, and she confidently said yes, encouraging me to express it whenever necessary. When I usually ask why she had the affair, I get countless excuses. This time, she admitted there was no justification for her actions. She vowed to show me every day for the rest of her life that she's truly remorseful and would never hurt me like this again. She opened up about her feelings, revealing deep insecurities and jealousy toward the other betrayed spouse. The affair boosted her ego, making her feel desired and beautiful. She confessed it was a fleeting fantasy that she deeply regretted and would carry the guilt for the rest of her life. She admitted she could never compare to the other betrayed spouse, whose beauty and integrity intimidated her. Her paranoia about me cheating stemmed from her own insecurities, not anything the other betrayed spouse had done. In fact, the other woman had never said a harsh word to her or made any threats. The therapist asked what it would take for me to consider her proposal. I honestly told them I'd need a time machine because the marriage I have now feels like a sham. The therapist suggested that all marriages face challenges and how they're handled defines their strength. I was stunned and told the therapist to focus on my wife, not us. The therapist suggested that my resistance to logical reasoning might stem from a communication issue, and I didn't disagree. On the way home, my wife and I had a long conversation. She surprised me by asking if her affair made me feel emasculated. I admitted it did. Then she shocked me further by proposing that I could sleep with another woman to regain my confidence. I reiterated that I'm not the type to have a revenge affair. She clarified, suggesting a trial separation, where I could date others while she stayed faithful and waited for me to return when I was ready. I told her the idea was absurd and asked how it would help our marriage if we both pursued relationships. She argued that it wouldn't count as an affair since we'd be separated with mutual agreements. I rejected her proposal, finding it completely out of character for her to suggest such a thing. Despite my distrust, she has been unusually calm and patient these past few weeks, almost a completely different person from the insecure one I knew. Even though she doesn't want the divorce, she has been generous throughout the process, which has made things more complicated. Before diving further, I want to thank those who've supported me. For now, my wife and I agreed to spend the holidays together for the sake of our children. This will be our last holiday as a family. though she hopes otherwise. I'm doing this for my kids because I love them. The divorce will be finalized by mid-February. The divorce process. For those curious, we've split everything evenly, although my wife has been generous, which makes me suspicious of potential future nastiness. So far, she's been kind, admitting she wants a fair divorce because I've been a good husband and father. She doesn't stand to lose much, but I'll get slightly more thanks to her cooperation. I stopped attending therapy with her because it gave her false hope. She's admitted that her desire for closeness stems from my emotional absence after the affair. Ironically, she's been initiating physical affection more frequently now than ever before. Previously, she rarely did. While I appreciate her effort to address my feelings, I've rejected her advances. She insists it's not about reconciliation, but simply wanting me to feel valued and attractive. I have temporarily cut off contact with the other betrayed spouse because things were becoming too personal. She confessed she had feelings for me and was willing to wait until my divorce was finalized before pursuing anything. I'm confused about whether I reciprocate, so we decided to take a break until everything is resolved. For those wondering if my presence affected her decision to leave her husband, I assure you it didn't. She was done with him before we connected. We don't speak badly about our exes when we're together. Her husband recently apologized to me in person, but I didn't accept it. Call me petty, but I don't care about his struggles. Navigating the relationship with my wife. Is it wrong to accept physical intimacy from my wife, even if we're not reconciling? I miss that closeness, and she's been persistent, trying everything to initiate it. Sometimes it's hard to resist. Without me asking, she got rid of everything related to her affair partner. I didn't care where they had been intimate, but she acted proactively. Turning off my feelings isn't easy, and I wonder if this is some kind of trap or manipulation. Before anyone suggests kicking her out, I've tried that. It's less hassle to have her here until the divorce is finalized. Rant and realizations. It's finally hit me. I used to think I wasted years on a worthless woman, but she gave me amazing kids and memories I won't forget. Still, I've realized I deserve better. When another man showed her attention, she invested all her energy in him and neglected me. Now that I'm over her, she's doing everything to keep me and rebuild what we had. She wants me to be happy, even becoming more adventurous in bed. While our previous intimacy wasn't perfect, I enjoyed it. But reading the explicit texts from her affair partner made me realize how much I missed out. Now she treats me like a king the way she should have before. Her transparency and honesty about her mistakes come with visible shame and hopelessness when I reject her, which makes me hate myself at times. Why can't I see her actions as positive? Why am I so fixated on judging her past instead of appreciating her efforts now? Many people survive long-term affairs and come out stronger. Why am I making decisions based on emotions instead of being objective? Some argue I might lose out if someone else gets the improved version of her while I face uncertainty in a new relationship. But here's my answer. I won't tolerate disrespect. I may have in the early stages of this ordeal, but I quickly woke up to reality. Moving forward, I've decided to enjoy Christmas with my family one last time and then move on completely. I'm done with the idea of being with her again. I won't be dating her or giving us another chance. It's over for good. I want her to find happiness, but it won't be with me. She's shown me that. After reflecting on how much she helped me during my lowest moments, I called the other betrayed spouse and invited her to dinner after the holidays. She happily agreed. For those wondering if I planned this all along, I didn't. My emotions have been a mess for years, and the thought of being with another woman never crossed my mind until now. It's just dinner, nothing more, unless we both decide otherwise. As my divorce nears, I've realized I have options, and one of them has been there all along. As for her husband, I don't care about him. I doubt I'll marry again, and I'm upfront about this with anyone I meet. Despite my relatively smooth divorce process, I've lost a lot financially, and the concept of marriage feels like a scam now. Sorry if I sound cynical, but I'm still jaded. I gave my best years to someone and now realize how little I got in return. Update? The divorce is final. It's been a long journey, but it's over. My ex-wife and I officially separated 3 weeks ago, and for a few days afterward, I grieved as though I had lost a loved one. It hit me hard. The collapse of my marriage hit me harder than I ever expected. I hadn't cried that much since the day I first discovered my wife's affair. Along with the sadness, there was plenty of anger. It was undoubtedly one of the lowest points of my life. For the kids' sake, I've worked to ensure everything is organized with my ex. She moved out of the house and now lives in an apartment, a significant downgrade for her, which has visibly affected her. She's still attending therapy and immersing herself in studying infidelity. I can't say for sure why. We've had lengthy discussions, before and after the divorce, though our physical contact has been minimal. I know I shouldn't entertain her attempts at engagement, but as the mother of my children, I want us to maintain a good co-parenting relationship. I've approached this whole situation logically, thanks in large part to advice from this community and others. She still hopes for reconciliation, but I believe it's too risky to put myself back in that position. Unfortunately, I'm not inclined to give her that opportunity. A new dynamic with the other betrayed spouse. This past weekend, I went to dinner with the other betrayed spouse, OBS. My only intention was to enjoy good company and conversation. We talked about a variety of topics, but the mood gradually shifted, becoming more flirtatious. I was hesitant to let things escalate, but eventually the night ended with a level of intimacy I hadn't anticipated. Apologies if this is too much information, but it was the most fulfilling connection I've ever experienced. OBS is incredibly giving, far surpassing my ex-wife in that department. While I didn't plan for things to go that far, we were both willing participants. I also learned a few things in the process. For the first time, I felt someone genuinely wanted to make me happy, rather than me doing all the work. I suppose I shouldn't call her the other betrayed spouse anymore since she's divorced, but for privacy's sake, I'll keep using that term. To be honest, I don't think we'll take the relationship further. At least not yet. I believe the wine and heightened emotions played a role in what happened. She's open to exploring a relationship, but I'm undecided. Both of us need time to sort through our feelings. That said, the experience was a significant boost for my self-esteem. I felt desired, alive, and realized just how much I'd been missing. I will never settle for a lackluster connection again. Most importantly, I'm proud that I stayed true to my morals. There was no cheating involved. Reflections on the divorce and moving on. I'm proud of how I've handled everything, even if I wasn't perfect. I feel fortunate compared to other betrayed spouses despite losing a substantial amount of money during the divorce. My success stems from being willing to take advice from those with experience instead of fumbling through on my own. Some key takeaways. Respect yourself and never tolerate disrespect, even from someone close to you. Everyone deserves a fulfilling relationship. Don't settle for less. Intimacy in a committed relationship should be meaningful. If your partner doesn't put in the effort, especially after or during an affair, don't accept it. Communication is vital. Express your feelings, and if your partner doesn't meet your needs, don't compromise on your happiness. Healing from betrayal is a personal journey. Only you can truly heal yourself. There's more I could say, but that's what comes to mind now. I'll be available to answer comments for a while, but after that, I'm done posting here and moving on with my life. Best wishes to everyone. Update: coping with post-divorce life. I've intentionally avoided focusing on anything related to infidelity because it still triggers me sometimes. I'm dealing with the trauma while trying to move forward without dwelling on the past. I'm okay. No accidents or disappearing acts here. I'm still in a relationship with OBS. who is now my girlfriend. She handled her case with her ex-husband, M, with maturity, resolving custody and financial matters without seeking revenge. However, there's some tension among the kids, and we've started therapy to help them adjust and understand that our relationship doesn't change their importance. It hasn't been easy, as not everyone is on board. My daughter, OBS's kids, and M's children don't always get along, creating ongoing challenges. My ex-wife strongly dislikes OBS, likely because she influences my perspective. She attempted something at a 4th of July party, but I shut it down. However, she persists in seeking my attention. A new beginning with OBS. For those wondering, OBS and I are doing incredibly well. If I'd known someone like her existed earlier, I'd have found her years ago. Jokes aside, our relationship is the healthiest I've ever experienced. Because of what my ex-wife put me through, I didn't even know what a healthy relationship looked like. I've doubted myself at times, but OBS has been a wonderful partner, consistently showing how much I mean to her. We're deeply in love, but we're keeping it at the girlfriend level for now. I'm still uncertain about marriage, so we're taking things slow and keeping the relationship private, minimizing the children's involvement for now. While it was rocky initially, the kids are starting to get along better. Our deep involvement in their lives, along with making sure they always had someone to confide in during tough times, has made a significant difference. Therapy has also played a huge role. My daughter and son are incredibly fond of Obi, who has built a strong bond with kids in general. Her children have also grown much closer to me compared to nearly 2 years ago. In fact, her youngest recently started introducing me as her stepdad at various events and outings I took her to, which came as a surprise. I initially worried she might feel pressured into seeing me that way, but she reassured me, saying she genuinely likes me and that seeing her mom happy makes her happy too. Being called her stepdad hit me on an emotional level, though I kept a composed exterior. It's heartwarming to watch my kids play joyfully with OBS's children, even if they've formed a playful alliance to tease my son, the youngest and only boy in the group. I'm still deciding whether to laugh or cringe at their antics. About my ex-wife? Regarding my cheating ex-wife, we're on decent terms now. She has been putting in a lot of effort to mend her relationship with our daughter, and I was pleased when my daughter said she could find it in herself to forgive her mother. They've both faced a lot, but have made real progress together. That said, I don't think my ex-wife has fully accepted that we're done as a couple. She continues to hint at or hope for a second chance. She's been going to the gym and attending individual therapy, and she seems healthier overall, but I honestly don't care. I've made peace with the past, and it's up to her to do the same. Interestingly, she and OBS have started talking more, and OBS responds kindly, though with understandable caution. Given everything that's happened, her skepticism is justified. As for M, he's a lost cause. I didn't realize just how much of a disaster he was. Despite all his wealth, he's a mess. He has a new girlfriend now, but his kids can't stand her and are very vocal about it. It took me a while to recognize how self-absorbed the guy is. To be honest, I'm not a fan of his girlfriend either. She comes across as superficial, materialistic, and dismissive of his daughters. Conclusion. In conclusion, we're doing more than okay. Don't get me wrong, I've had moments where I doubted if this was the right path, but with a lot of effort from everyone involved, things have turned out wonderfully. This isn't a fairy tale with a happily ever after, but it is a genuinely happy ending, and that's more than enough for me.